Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us on today's webinar. Today's webinar will be presented to you by John Oskin, President, Sage Clarity, Jessica Morrison, Senior Account Executive, Sage Clarity. Today's presentation is Next-Gen Andon, Process Correction and Improvement Accelerator. We appreciate your taking the time to join us today.
Thank you, Amy. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to have everyone be part of today's session. So today's agenda, we'll start with a little bit of an overview of Sage Clarity for those of you that don't know us. Talk a little bit about our Accelerator application suite used in digital transformations. And then the focus for today's webinar is really around Next-Gen Andon, a white sheet redesign of Andon that's used in a variety of industries. We'll give you a live demonstration of the software, talk about success stories, and then wrap up with some Q&A. So who is Sage Clarity? Well, Sage Clarity provides Industry 4.0 accelerator apps to drive digital transformations. So what does that mean? It's a low-code, no-code kind of environment with accelerator components designed around data collection, reporting, and analysis. It's uniquely designed with customers in mind and provides seamless integration and rich data into a variety of systems, whether it's MES, EAM, SCADA, or even ERP. The Accelerator app suite has three pillars, and it starts with Next-Gen Andon, which is the topic for today's discussion. Andon, which is a concept that Toyota introduced in the 50s, is really around issue management and bringing attention to issues. With our demo today and discussion around Andon specifically, you'll learn how Andon can be used for both process correction and improvement. The next pillar is OneView. OneView is an reporting accelerator designed for enterprise-level reporting of various KPIs. And then finally, the last accelerator is Able. Able is a data collection accelerator used to help understand real-time uptime, downtime, and machine efficiency. Sage Clarity serves a variety of industries. We focus on food and beverage, consumer packaged goods, aerospace and automotive, and pharma and med device. What's common among these customers is they're typically multi-site environments. So it could be anywhere from 2, 5 to 50 factories that are deploying these technologies. Another interesting fact about the customers is that they may deploy 1, 2, or all 3 of our application accelerator suite. So you're not tied to one specific path as you pursue your digital transformation journey. As we get into this discussion of Andon, the question comes up, which is, well, why do operators need help? Well, for a variety of reasons. So it could be anything from safety concerns, spills on the floor. It could be material issues, whether it's low material or incorrect material. It could be quality issues. So maybe an operator is struggling with a certain part of the assembly and they need to find either a QC technician or maybe it's even a quality manager. And then even machine repairs. So if there's an opportunity where there's a need for maintenance, operators might, typically, turn on the radios and call for help that way. What we're going to be discussing today with you is a better way to approach that. Another concept associated with Andon is stack lights. So the evolution of Andon started with Toyota, as I mentioned, where if an operator had an issue, they would pull a cord on the line would stop, operators would huddle up, and then with that, once the operation the issue was resolved, then the operation continued. From there, that evolved into overhead displays, LED displays for displaying issues, and then stack lights. So with stack lights, if an operator has an issue, you turn a light on, that brings attention to that area of the factory. With Sage Clarity's Next-Gen Andon solution, it could be deployed as a software-only solution, or it could be deployed with stack light hardware. We have a partnership with Banner Engineering so that if you have a need or a desire for that component to this solution, we can accommodate that. In today's discussion and demo around Andon, what you're going to see is that Andon captures issues and sets priorities. It triggers alerts for responsive action. It creates workflow with accountability to ensure resolution. And at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're building a knowledge base of corrective actions from these Andon tickets. And with that, we support a variety of other systems that might integrate with Andon data, ERP, MES, plant maintenance systems. With that, I'm going to dive into Andon further and give you a live demonstration. So with Andon, as tickets are created around issues, there's an escalation process. And with this escalation process, there's a lot of flexibility around how Andon tickets get created. So you can certainly have notifications when an initial Andon ticket is opened, but then you can have reminders at different intervals. So you might start with an initial ticket going to maintenance, but then after 15 minutes without an acknowledgement, it might go to a supervisor. You can then have secondary escalations, say after another hour has passed, it might go to a manager group. So these escalation paths can continue. And that's one of the powerful elements with our Andon solution is the flexibility to have a number of different defined escalation parameters. And here's an example of different kinds of escalations. So there might be an initial email when the Andon gets created, and then after acknowledgement, then a second email might go out, and then finally, when the issue gets closed, a third email goes out. In those email notifications, you're going to have details. You're going to have details about what line was it on, what machine was it on, maybe a description as to the nature of the issue, who was being called, was it maintenance, was it quality. So all of these are configurable fields within Andon that allow you to set up the configuration. The other thing we can do with Andon is you can send Andon tickets into Teams. So with Teams integration, now you have a common repository. So those Andon notifications might go to your inbox from an email perspective, but if you'd rather set up a Teams channel, we have that integration available as well. And then you have all the discussion that can ensue after the ticket is created. Let's take a look at Andon in action. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate you through the application. What you're seeing on screen here is what's called factory view. This gives you a composite view of the factory so that you can see what's running and what's not. So there are three ways that actually Andon tickets can be created. So the first on the screen here, you'll see little phone icons. So if I click on one of those phone icons, we have some pre-selects. So here we've got one set up for quality, one for material, and one for maintenance. So if I just need to make a call for maintenance, I'm just going to click on the maintenance button. And with one click there, I have now created a ticket associated with maintenance. So if you close that, and if we go to the Andon Message Center, what you're going to see is you're going to see that now we have a ticket that's been created. It's associated with motor 1. There's a call for maintenance, and the clock is running. The second way that you can create a ticket is by creating this Create Ticket button. This is a more detailed approach. With this approach here, I have a form. And with this form, I can select various fields here. So we're going to pick a machine or an asset, if you will. I can select my notification group, so I can decide who might get notified. And then I have details. So it may be job number. It could be priority. You'll notice in this form that there's a red asterisk near some of the fields. That indicates that is a required field. If there isn't an asterisk, that means that it's an optional field. So that's also part of the configuration that enables you to decide what is required and what's optional. Once you've filled out the form, all you need to do is just click on Save, and then that's going to create the ticket that way. So again, we've just shown you two different ways to create a ticket. One with clicking on the phone icon from Factory View, and then this is a more detailed way of clicking on a ticket. Once a ticket's created, you can be updated. So let's go to that first ticket. I can show you how you can do a quick acknowledgement by clicking on the ticket and simply just clicking on the acknowledge button. So now it's gone from a red state to this greenish blue state, if you will. The other way that I can acknowledge a ticket is if I click on the bottom half of the ticket, I get the detailed form. So we won't select that, so just cancel out of that. But that's another way that you can acknowledge a ticket. All right. Once a ticket has been acknowledged and you're ready to close the ticket, there are two ways to close the ticket. So again, I can click on the top half of the form. So if we click on that ticket, I can just simply click on the close button. It's going to quickly close that ticket out, and we're done. The other way that we can click on close a ticket out is by clicking on the bottom half of the form. And if I do that, I'm going to get another form back. So I'm going to select the close option. And then here we have another set of fields, and this is all configurable again. So we have a root cause analysis field. So let's just say that we did a Kaizen event, associated with this maintenance issue. And maybe you could put in some resolution notes. Maybe you had to modify a valve setting. And with that, then now we provided additional details associated with that ticket closure. In addition to that, you can see on the form all the initial ticket information that was created. And then at the bottom there, you'll see that every time I change the Andon state, we are giving you that timestamp. So you know exactly what time it was requested, what time it was acknowledged, and then ultimately what time it was closed. So if you click on Save there, we'll go ahead and close that one out. So two different ways to close a ticket. Once you start getting tickets into the system, now you've got something you can actually analyze. So if you go into the Andon Reporting Center, you're going to see some out-of-the-box reporting. So in the lower right-hand corner, you can see week-to-date, month-to-date, year-to-date type time periods. On screen, you can see how tickets open, tickets closed, average ticket time, average response time, average resolution time, time between Andons. And then if you keep scrolling, you'll notice that wherever we have a drop-down menu item, it's going to get Paretoed out. So here I've got closed tickets by line, Molder 2 versus Molder 1. I have closed tickets by notification group. So whether it was production or maintenance or material, by status. If I keep going, by type, by priority. So when this is configured, again, wherever you have a drop-down menu item, that's going to show up in the reporting application. If the out-of-the-box reporting is not adequate for you, you can also export. So when you export, if I click on the export option, you can export all the data records into Excel. So that's how you can easily export the data. Lastly, what I want to talk about is really around the ease of configuration of the system. So if we go into some of the configuration elements, we won't cover everything, but we'll cover a few. So what we'll do is we'll start by the Andon field configuration. So I mentioned that that when we created the forms, there were different styles. So here we're looking at the areas that you can set up associated with your machinery. You can also set up assets. So very easy to kind of add those components to it. Once you have those configured, you'll go into the Andon field configuration. If you select the drop down here, we have the initial entry form and then the status form. So on the initial entry form, you see that various fields that we have set up. There are 5 different field types that can be configured. If you click on the plus button, you'll notice here that in the drop down for the types, I have a text box, which is a 20-character field. I have a select box, which is a drop-down menu. I have a text area, which is kind of like a paragraph field, great for descriptions. I have checkbox fields, which are typically yes/no fields. And then I have hierarchy selections. And with hierarchy selections, we can have a menu and then a sub-menu and then even a sub-menu for selections. So a lot of flexibility in terms of the types of fields that you configure into the system. We'll go ahead and cancel out of that now. The next element is really around Andon status. So if we take a look at the Andon status configuration, you'll notice that we have up to 6 different states related to Andon. Request, acknowledged, and closed are the mandatory ones. But then you have 3 optional ones. And in this case, we have a status called line stop. We have one for work stoppage. We have one for even like safety issues. So you can modify the colors. You can turn these additional Andon status fields on or off as needed. There we go. We talked a little bit about smart notifications. We'll touch on that briefly here. So if you go into the smart notifications configuration, you'll notice that there are elements there for setting up your parameters. So it could be as sophisticated or as simple as you'd like, whether you just want simple notifications when tickets are created, or whether you want escalations after different time intervals. There's sound alerts notification. So we'll exit out of here and we'll show you that there's different ways to, if you wanted to have different types of sound notifications, that's enabled as well. So that might give you some additional audio cues in addition to any kind of visuals that you might have available. The last bit that I'll speak to is the broadcast center. So the broadcast center is really designed to have an overhead TV, and with an overhead TV, I can target individual machines or group machines. I can set the refresh frequency. I can decide what order I want things to appear in. So once that gets configured, if you go into the broadcast center view, what you're going to see is the result. So right now we have no tickets open, so everything's in green. If we go ahead and create a ticket just to see on screen something that might show up, so we'll go ahead and click on the create ticket button, and we'll just create an arbitrary ticket, and we'll show you how that gets introduced into the broadcast center. Okay, so that ticket has been created now, and you'll notice that it's a very large ticket that appears on screen. So you can imagine if this is on a 60-inch overhead TV, it's going to become very visible as to what's happening. So right now we've got a ticket open for molder number 1. The clock is running, so you get a great visual. As more tickets appear into the system, this will shrink down into a smaller tile so that multiple tickets can become visible. So the Andon Broadcast Center is great for visualization. If you're not using stack lights for that kind of visualization, if you're using stack lights, obviously you have a hardware visualization component for the open tickets. So that's a real high-level overview of Andon. We'll go back to the PowerPoint now.
Thanks, John, for running through the demonstration. Again, really configurable within this application. What you're seeing on the screen right now is another module that's included within our Andon application. This is our production center. So everything that you've seen, including the reporting, configuration, how we will set this up with you, is part of the process. With Production Center, this allows you to really look at machine cycle time, look at takt time per station or by individual. So, this quick demonstration on the screen here is where I would go into our Production Center module. I would create an order. That order and the information can be pulled from ERP systems, connected to other systems that you may have on the floor. We can start an order, and then an individual, at their station operator can start the job and then report a pass, a fail. We're able to build in, if there's a failure, the reason codes behind it, but all of this data is being collected in real time. And then we're able to, present that data both in Excel, through Power BI, through different tools, applications. So another tool within Andon that helps, you know, your teams collect information. So production center, takt time, cycle time. When we build out, as you can see, we've got line 1, line 2, line 3. We put in the cycle time, so it can be minutes, hours, days, the job status, if it's running, if it's paused. And, it also ties into if I'm on line 3, as you can see, there's an Andon ticket that was created. So that may have been my job. I ran out of material. I was able to go back into the Andon Center and make a call for material because I'm out. And so now my order, my job has been paused, but all of that data is being collected. So as the material group, the correct individuals within that notification group or line 3 have been notified, we're knowing how long it takes for material to get to me to complete the order. I can then go back into Production Center, resume the job, and continue to hit that cycle time that was originally put into the system. So powerful, in the right situations, as I mentioned, included in our Next-Gen Andon application. Um, as well as connecting directly to Andon and the different systems that you have. We are an agnostic platform and a real-time application that can be accessed through your web browsers, again on a tablet, phone, PC, as John mentioned. So easily accessible, as well as including hardware as sound notifications. But here you can see that Andon ticket was created. I would close it out once material arrived and resume my job.
Thanks, Jessica. So let's go to the next slide. Talk a little bit about architecture. So Andon is a cloud-based system. It can be used both public cloud or private cloud. But with Andon, essentially we have, if there is data collection associated with Andon, that's kind of being done in the lower left-hand corner through Able, which is our data collection accelerator component to it. If you're using just Andon by itself, literally all you really need is what's on the lower right-hand side, which is your devices, whether it's tablet, PC, or desktop, and then literally all the interaction that you're seeing is going into the cloud. So it's a pretty straightforward architecture. Let's go to the next slide. Talk quickly about a case study with Cook Medical. So Cook Medical is a medical device manufacturer. Their challenges were getting alerts on equipment issues, and they were very specific about wanting to focus on improving response time and resolution time. So in their case, it incorporates stack lights and as well as the Andon application. The most important thing is really the key benefits. So they got a 75% reduction in response time from 19 minutes down to 5. So that's huge. And we see this all the time. It is not uncommon for you to see anywhere from a 50 to 70% reduction in response time, but you're also going to expect to see about a 20% reduction in resolution time. And the implications of all that is really around improving machine performance. So there are real implications, real hard dollar implications for implementing Andon and the benefits associated with it. Why don't we take some questions?
Our first question comes from Sandra Helbron. How many different reason codes for an Andon can be configured?
Unlimited, really no limitations. And with the hierarchy selection configuration, we can tier the selections into multiple levels, so it becomes quite manageable.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm happy.
Go ahead, Jessica.
I'm sorry, and happy to show that as well. This was a really quick overview, but the power of the configuration, the ability to add different levels, not only with notification groups, areas, assets, tie them together, again, for either different plants, different areas, is really powerful, and reason codes as well. As John mentioned in those hierarchy selections, I've got a few examples that I can share,
Right.
That are built out and make it easy for not only the user. User adoption is huge for our team for these applications, why they were designed. We know how important that is, but that can all be configured directly with your team.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, our next question is, does Andon require hardware?
The answer is no. I mean, it is optional. So it's really up to you. So you can implement Andon as a standalone software application, or it can certainly be coupled with hardware. So your choice.
Okay. We have another question. Can machines call for help?
They can. So actually, operators can call for help, or machines can call for help. So the component that we didn't cover in today's webinar, which is called ABLE, is around machine data collection. So when you have ABLE in place with Andon, then those machines can call for help. And a machine call for help could be a material request. So it could be just a low fill sensor that indicates that more material is needed. It could be excessive downtime. So if a machine is down more than, say, 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe I want to automatically call for help and not rely on an operator making that request. So yes, both machines and operators can call for help.
Okay, it looks like we have one more question. How quickly can Andon be deployed?
Great question. It's fast. I mean, if you were to adopt the cloud version of Andon, we literally can have that stood up in days. So it's a very, very quick deployment. If there's hardware involved, then there might be lead time on the hardware. There might be some installation time. But Andon is an application that gets installed in days, not even weeks or months.
Okay, that looks like that was our last question. Or if you'd like to ask for any more information about the topics covered today, please email info@sageclarity.com. And I want to thank our presenters, John Oskin and Jessica Morrison, for an informative presentation today. We appreciate your time today. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and take care. And we look forward to meeting with you again soon.